You know, there's something absolutely wild about memory and human connection that we almost never stop to think about. Right now, at this exact moment, someone from your past is thinking about you. Not in some creepy, obsessive way, but in one of those quiet moments when their mind just wanders off, when a song they haven't heard in years comes on, when they walk past a street corner that brings back a memory of time you spent together. Your name pops up in their head like a rock skipping across water, making ripples you'll never get to see. And here's the mind-blowing part. You have absolutely zero idea it's even happening. You can't sense it. There's no notification popping up on your phone, no signal, no possible way of knowing. But somewhere out there in the world, someone you used to know is remembering the version of you that existed in their life back then. They're recalling your laugh, the way you moved your hands when you got excited about something, the specific sound of your voice when you said their name. And the beautiful tragedy wrapped up in all of this is that you'll probably never know it happened. Now we spend an absolutely insane amount of energy worrying about being forgotten, don't we? There's this constant fear eating at us that once we're out of sight, we just stop existing in other people's minds completely. We imagine that the second we leave a room, a city, a relationship, we simply vanish from everyone's awareness like we were never there. But this isn't how memory actually works. This isn't how human connection operates at all. You see, we leave little pieces of ourselves everywhere we go. Invisible marks on the awareness of every single person we bump into. These impressions don't just dissolve and disappear simply because time keeps moving or distance grows between you. There's someone from your childhood who still remembers an act of kindness you showed them when nobody else was being kind. There's someone from an old job who remembers how you made the brutal days more bearable just by being there in that space. There's someone you sat next to on a train one time whose entire day shifted because of a quick conversation you've completely forgotten ever happened. This is one of the great mysteries of being alive. We're constantly touching other people's lives in ways we can't measure or track. We're being remembered in ways we can't detect or feel. Think of it like throwing a rock into still water. You toss that rock in and the ripples spread outward, touching shores you'll never visit yourself. Your interactions with other people create similar ripples in their awareness, reaching places in their minds and hearts you'll never see. Consider someone you were close to years ago, maybe a friend from school, someone you worked with, someone you shared a specific part of life with for a while. You were basically inseparable for a time, and then life happened. Different cities, different responsibilities, different directions. You haven't talked in years. You probably assume they've moved on completely, that those shared experiences have faded into nothing important. But what if just last week something triggered their memory of you? What if they heard a song you both loved, or ran into someone who reminded them of you? For a brief flash, they were transported right back, feeling that specific warmth that comes from remembering real connection with another person. You'll never know about that moment. They won't call you up. They won't send you a message. They might not even fully acknowledge the feeling to themselves. It happened. You existed in their awareness again, even if only for a few seconds. And this is happening way more often than you realize, with way more people than you could possibly imagine. Now there's this strange loneliness in modern life that comes from this disconnect. We've built a world where connection has to be visible to count as real. If someone doesn't like your social media posts, they don't care about you. If someone doesn't reach out regularly, they've forgotten you exist. If someone doesn't explicitly validate your existence, you've ceased to exist in their world. But this is totally false. It's a convenient lie that feeds our insecurities and keeps us feeling isolated from each other. The truth is that people think about each other constantly without saying a single word about it. The human mind is always reaching backward, always touching old connections, always wondering about people who once mattered deeply. We haunt each other in the most beautiful way you can imagine, yet we rarely admit it because we've been taught that reaching out after time has passed is awkward, weird, or desperate looking. So we stay silent. We think about people and never tell them we're thinking about them. We miss connections and never acknowledge that we miss them. We carry memories of relationships that shaped who we became. and never express their impact on us. And everyone else is doing exactly the same thing right back at us. We're all walking around believing we've been forgotten while at the same time holding vivid memories of people we never contact. The irony is almost painful when you really look at it clearly. This fear of being forgotten comes from completely misunderstanding what connection actually is. We imagine connection as a continuous exchange, an ongoing performance of caring that has to be maintained. But genuine connection goes beyond time and distance. Real connection is something that happens in a moment and keeps echoing forever afterward. You don't need to talk wee-why someone every single day for them to matter to you. You don't need to keep up regular contact for the memory of them to stay precious and meaningful. Try this right now. Think of someone from your past, someone you haven't thought about in years. Notice how quickly they appear in your mind. Notice how specific the memories are, the way they looked, moved, talked, the way they made you feel when you were around them. Now understand this clearly. You are that person in someone else's mind right now, today, this very moment. You are the memory someone is holding on to. You are the ghost from the past that makes someone smile out of nowhere for no apparent reason. There's someone who remembers the exact tone your voice took when you got really enthusiastic about something. There's someone who still uses a phrase you taught them years ago without even realizing where they picked it up. There's someone who makes decisions differently now because of something you said once, without thinking much about it. There's someone who thinks of you every single time they run into something you first showed them or introduced them to. You are woven into the fabric of other people's lives in ways you absolutely cannot see. And this weaving doesn't just unravel and fall apart because time keeps passing. Let me tell you something fascinating about the nature of influence we have on each other. We tend to think our impact on the world is limited to what we can measure directly with our own eyes. We count our friends, track our achievements, watch who responds to our messages and posts. But the real impact, the deep lasting impact, is completely invisible to us. It exists in the private thoughts of people who think about you and never mention it to anyone. It lives in the hearts of people who were changed by knowing you, even briefly, even imperfectly, even in passing. The deepest tragedy isn't that we get forgotten. The deepest tragedy is that we never know how remembered we actually are. We move through life thinking we're insignificant and unimportant, thinking our presence didn't matter much, thinking we've left no real mark on anyone while at the same time carrying our own memories of other people. We understand perfectly well what it means to remember people, to carry them with us inside, to think of them when we least expect it. But somehow we can't extend this understanding to ourselves. We can't believe that we are being carried in exactly the same way by others. This is what I mean when I talk about the illusion of separation we all live under. We experience ourselves as isolated individuals, completely disconnected from each other once the immediate interaction ends and we go our separate ways. But consciousness doesn't operate that way at all. Memory doesn't function that way. Connection doesn't work that way. Every person who has ever known you still carries a version of you somewhere within them. That version might be outdated, incomplete, totally different from who you've become since then, but it exists. It lives. It comes back up without any warning. There's someone who was struggling years ago, and your kindness, which you've probably forgotten entirely by now, gave them hope when they desperately needed it most. There's someone who was uncertain about a major life decision, and something you said casually helped them choose their path forward. There's someone who felt completely invisible in a crowd, and you saw them, really saw them as a person, even if only for a moment. These moments don't just evaporate into nothing and disappear. They become part of someone's life story. They become part of how someone understands themselves and their place in this world. And here's what makes this even more fascinating and beautiful. You're thinking of someone right now too, aren't you? As these words reach you, a face has probably appeared in your mind. Someone you used to know well. Someone you lost touch with somewhere along the way. Someone you wonder about occasionally when something reminds you of them. This is the human condition in its absolute purest form. We are constantly reaching toward each other across time and distance, but we've somehow convinced ourselves that these invisible threads don't count as real unless they show up as visible action. What if you could actually see it? What if you could witness the map of all the minds you occupy space in, even briefly, even occasionally? What if you could watch the moments when your name surfaces in someone's thoughts out of nowhere? When your memory brings them comfort in a hard moment? When the ghost of who you were to them provides company when they're alone? Would it change how you see yourself and your life? Would it change how you move through the world each day? Almost certainly yes. Because most of us are absolutely starving for evidence that we matter beyond what we can directly see and measure. We're desperate to know that our existence has significance we can't quantify or control. We want to know that we've left something behind besides just our own memories. We want to know that the connections we felt were mutual and real, even if imperfect. We want to know that we weren't just passing through other people's lives like strangers on a train platform. But here's the beautiful paradox hidden in all this. The very fact that you wonder if anyone thinks about you is proof that you think about others. The very fact that you carry memories of people from your past means others are carrying memories of you. The very fact that you sometimes miss people you no longer speak to means you are also missed by people who no longer speak to you. We are mere roars of each other in this fundamental way. Your inner experience is not unique to you. Your longing is not yours alone. Your remembering is completely universal. Right now, somewhere out there, someone is looking through old photographs and pausing on one that includes you in it. Someone is telling a story from their past that features you, even if you're not the main character. Someone is walking past a place you used to go together and feeling that specific ache of nostalgia. Someone is hearing your name mentioned randomly and feeling unexpected warmth wash over them. Someone is remembering advice you gave them years ago that changed how they think about something important. Someone is seriously considering reaching out to you but talking themselves out of it because too much time has passed. Because it would be awkward now. Because surely you've forgotten them entirely by now. And the cruelest irony wrapped up in all of this is that you're doing precisely the same thing. You're thinking about someone and not reaching out to them. You're carrying memories and not sharing them with the person they're about. You're wondering about people and not asking how they're doing. We're all caught up in this silent dance of mutual remembering and mutual silence. We are all holding affection for each other from a distance and assuming it isn't felt or returned. What would actually happen if we broke this pattern? What would happen if we reached out to the people who cross our minds? What would happen if we simply said, "Hey, I thought of you today," without needing a reason, without needing the perfect words, without needing an excuse or explanation? What would happen if we acknowledged that time and distance don't erase connection at all? They merely change its form into something different. The resistance comes from fear, obviously. Fear of rejection, fear of awkwardness, discovering that maybe they don't think about you the way you think about them, fear of appearing desperate or strange or needy. But underneath all these surface fears is something way deeper. The fear that connection is fragile and delicate, that it only exists when actively maintained through regular contact, that once broken it cannot be restored or rebuilt. But let me suggest to you that this fear is based on completely misunderstanding what connection fundamentally is at its core. Connection is not a continuous thread that snaps cleanly when communication stops. Connection is more like a seed that gets planted deep and continues growing underground, invisible to the eye, even when the surface appears totally barren and empty. Every genuine interaction plants such a seed in another person. Some grow into enormous trees that last lifetimes. Some remain small but persistent. None of them truly die completely. You don't need permission to reach out to someone from your past. You don't need a compelling reason or perfect timing. The fact that they crossed your mind is reason enough by itself. The fact that they exist in your memory means they impacted you somehow. And there's a very good chance you impacted them in similar ways they never told you about. The worst possible outcome is they don't respond to you. And if that happens, you're no worse off than you are right now. But the best outcome is you discover that they think about you too, that they've been wanting to reach out but didn't know how to start, that the connection you imagined was dead and gone was actually just sleeping, waiting for someone to be brave enough to acknowledge it still exists. This isn't about collecting people like trophies or maintaining relationships out of guilt or obligation. This is about recognizing a profound truth about being human. We are not as alone as we believe ourselves to be. Our lives are tangled up with others in ways we cannot fully understand or see. Memory and affection go beyond time and space completely. The people who mattered to us still matter deeply, and we still matter to them even when years have passed without a single word exchanged between you. Someone from your past still thinks of you regularly. Maybe they think of you often. Maybe they think of you rarely. Maybe they think of you with pure joy. Maybe they think of you with some regret. Maybe they think of you with curiosity, wondering who you've become, what path you ended up taking. But they think of you, and you think of them. And this mutual haunting, this absolutely beautiful haunting, is part of what makes us fundamentally human beings. We are not meant to move through life collecting moments and experiences and then tossing them away like used tickets. We are not meant to treat people as temporary fixtures in our personal story. Every person we've ever known has become part of us somehow, and we have become part of them. The traces are permanent even when totally invisible. The impact is real even when unmeasured. The affection is present even when unexpressed and unspoken. So if there's someone on your mind right now, someone you haven't spoken to in months or years, consider this your permission to reach out to them. Not because you need something from them, not because something is wrong, but simply because they crossed your mind today. And that crossing means something real. It means they still live in you somewhere, and the chances are very good that you still live in them too in the same way. And if you're not ready to reach out yet, if the fear feels too strong, if the distance seems too vast to bridge, then at least know this one thing. You are being thought of too by someone somewhere in ways you'll never know about. You are remembered, you are missed. You are carried forward in the memories and hearts of people whose lives you touched somehow. However briefly it was, however imperfectly it happened. You are not forgotten by the people who mattered. You never were forgotten. The evidence may be completely invisible to you, but the truth remains absolutely solid and real. Someone from your past still thinks of you when certain things remind them of you. And in all likelihood, they always will think of you sometimes. That's simply how human consciousness works. We carry each other forward through time. Whether we admit it out loud or not, whether we reach out or stay silent, whether we even fully realize it or not. This is the web of connection that binds us all together as human beings. Invisible but totally unbreakable, silent but incredibly profound and deep. You are part of that web whether you feel it or not in this moment, and that's rather wonderful and beautiful when you really think about it clearly.